morning, I'm Angelo Castro III.
I'm Angela, and we are the Castros.
It's a Thursday, dark morning.
Makulimlim.
At least from where we are, no? Medyo madilim siya ngayon.
Oh, kasi binabantayan na di ba, low pressure area.
Yes, and I hope everyone is safe right now. Kung abutan kayo ng ulan sa road, masala yung mga motorista natin, mga kaibigan. Baka mabasa sila, so ingat-ingat lang po. And good morning sa ating viewers, and all of this because we're serving you news in a countdown.
All that before your second cup of coffee, this is Brunch. Let's begin our countdown with a strong group, Pilipinas, who remain spotless in the 2024 William Jones Cup. On Wednesday, they obliterated Malaysia with a double-digit lead, 89-54. Chris Macalo continued to anchor the Philippine side's offense with 16 points and 5 rebounds. Ren Sabando tallied 14 points and 10 rebounds, while Ange Kwame put up 11 points and 10 rebounds in the win. With the win, the SGA is now 4-0 in the tournament and is set to face USA later today. Now, still hot at the 9th spot is Cavite City. The city is now under a state of calamity after 2 barangays were hit by a fire over the weekend. Almost 1,000 families are currently in evacuation centers after losing their homes to the fire. The local government has prepared 2 more evacuation centers for the affected families, but some residents are refusing to stay there. Authorities are still investigating the cause of the fire.
Kaya natin ginawang dalawa yung ating evacuation center. Isa dito sa Dalahican Elementary School, yung isa sa Santa Cruz Elementary School. Unfortunately, yung ibang mga residente ayaw lumipat sa Santa Cruz Elementary School despite the fact na mas maluwag doon. May mga reasons sila like mas gusto daw nila dito dahil mas malapit doon sa kanilang bahay. So mas comfortable sila dito kahit na medyo siksikan. And yung iba naman, actually, during nighttime, umuwi rin sa kanilang mga kamag-anak.
All right, coming in at the top 8. Maguindanao del Sur has been placed under a state of calamity due to floods. According to authorities, 19 out of 24 municipalities in the province were flooded. Nearly 75,000 families were affected, while 1 casualty was reported. Some residents are still at evacuation centers as they await for the flood to subside.
Pero grabe yung tawag dito. Una muna yung sa Cavite, di ba?
Kasi ano to back to calamities
Yes. Yung fire dyan sa Cavite, until now, hindi pa rin nila alam kung magkano yung damage ng
pero ang
whole
daming,
property.
1,000 families ba? Basta 1,000 plus families affected.
900 families.
Yeah, close to 1,000.
Pero 3,300 individuals, no?
Malaking scope nito is ang gusto natin makita is how will yung Cavite City government or LGU relocate them if ever.
Yes.
Kasi meron ang damage ito malaki. It'll take a while to repair or to rehabilitate this area. Paano yung housing nila?
Ngayon pa lang sa evacuation centers na kung nasaan sila ay ayaw nga nila magstay doon. Although yun nga, ang siguro makikita mo na lang maganda dito ay wala naman casualty. Pero wala pa silang nalalaman o final confirmation kung ano yung cause ng fire.
Sa Maguindanao naman ito, they're under also a state of calamity dahil sa mga floods na nangyayari dyan.
Totoo. Ang tawag dito, parang 40% of the town is affected ng baha na ito. At saka sabi nga nila, hindi pa nga daw nakaka-recover yung mga kababayan natin dyan from the El Nino phenomenon. Ngayon naman, sumobra ng tubig, no? Bahang-baha. So, nakakalungkot, may casualty, and ang dami nilang mga pangangailangan dyan, of course.
Some points daw in the city kasi are submerged in water. So, nagkakaroon ng problem with transportation.
Yes.
Kasi hindi makadaan yung ibang light vehicles. Although yung mga heavy vehicles naman like buses and trucks, nakakadaan pa naman daw. Pero yung transportation, like yung mga tricycle, which most of the residents take to and from work, hindi makadaan.
Nahirapan sila. Tapos, tama ka dyan, Diego, kasi aside from that, yung ibang mga areas na medyo nagsasubside na yung mga flood water, ang problema naman nila, yung mga putik, ang kapal ng putik. So, ganun din, hindi rin sila makadaan.
Yeah.
Diba? So, it's really hard for them. Yung iba daw actually sa kalsada pa, may mga nabasa akong report, sa kalsada pa sila natutulog.
Yes, oo.
Yung mga gamit nila nasa kalsada. So, hindi biro itong kalagayan ng sa Maguindanao. Sana mas marami po yung makatulong doon. I think both in Cavite and Maguindanao, may mga donation drive naman dyan. But yet, yun nga, nakikita natin na kailangan nila ng mas maraming tulong, mabilis.
We should be prepared kasi wala pa yung mga bagyo.
Kawawa
And
naman
yet you
sila.
have yung mga floods like this already happening.
Parang we're so busy here politically, 'di ba, sa mga issues pang-political dito sa Metro Manila. And yet itong mga kababayan natin na thousands of our kababayans in Maguindanao ay kawawa, no, talagang naghihirap ngayon dahil nga dun sa mga pagbahadyaan. Nakita ko nga kahapon may viral na photo ang ating presidente tsaka yung kanyang asawa na magde-date daw sila, and a lot of people are saying sana all, lahat, sweet sila, etc. Sabi nga natin while itong presidente natin nakipag-date, ito yung mga kababayan natin sa Maguindanao ay nahihirapan. Yun lang ang ano natin. Tapos ang tawag dito, tignan natin kung ano ang gagawin pa by SONA. 'Di ba? Ayan ang isa pa nating babantayan.
Para kang tatakbo sa eleksyon.
Hindi kasi naiaalala ko kahit kagabi na talagang tinitignan ko yung mga reports and videos about it. Talagang naawa po ako dun sa ating mga
Kung init ang ulo mo sa mga ganyan na balita,
mas iinit pa.
Mas iinit ang ulo mo sa susunod.
Oo, dahil viral po ngayon mga kapatid sa social media ang rampa sa isang EDSA bus carousel station.
Rampa sa bus station, hindi rampa ng mga rampadora.
Hindi.
Diba?
Dahil binansagan nila itong wheelchair ramp of death.
Uy, nakatakot naman yan. Paano kasi
I'm sure nakita nila yan.
matirik daw ang rampa para sa mga PWD? Nako, kawawa naman. May paliwanag daw ang MMDA sa disenyo nito. Para tignan ang mukha ng Balita Mobile Journal. Evan Tarinque.
Napakahirap mag-commute dito sa Metro Manila, lalo na kung rush hour. Kaya naman sa Quezon City, may dalawang bagong bukas na estasyon ng EDSA Bus Carousel para sa ating mga commuter. Bagong-bago at fresh na fresh pa ang pintura ng mga kabubukas lang na PhilAm at Kamuning Station dito sa QZ. Sa PhilAm Station nga, may 3 transparent na elevator at mga wheelchair ramp para mas accessible raw sa ating mga kapatid na PWD.
Natutuwa nga ako kasi medyo masakit na rin yung paa ko. Kaya, tapos may bit-bit pa ako. Kasi parang may rayuman na rin po ako. Tapos eto pa, mabigat pa yung dala ko.
Pero sa aking ang pagtambay dito, may napansin akong medyo kakaiba. Kung ikaw ay galing sa southbound lane at gusto mong makasakay sa kanilang elevator. Makikita natin, kung ito tayo sa may part na to, makikita natin ito yung stairs. So sa kabila niyan, yung elevator. Pero papansin mo, kung ikaw ay naka-wheelchair, wala kang dadaanan. No? So ang mukhang mangyayari, kailangan bumaba dito at aakyat ka doon sa may rampang ulit yun para makapunta dito sa may elevator part. Pero hindi lang yan, dahil napansin din ng mga netizens ang tila matarik na wheelchair ramp dito. Ang ibang netizens nga, binansagan itong wheelchair ramp of death. Tinignan natin ang disenyo nito. So subukan natin pagulungan pataas nitong aking tape. Pero para sa ilang commuter, may pagkamatarik man ang daanan. Positibo pa rin ito, lalo para sa mga PWD na sasakay ng EDSA Bus Carousel.
Ay, oo. Medyo po. Medyo. Pag naka-wheelchair. Pero pagka naman yung akyat kang, okay lang.
Mas makakatulong siya. Mas okay yan. Kasi yung mga PWD natin, mga madali sa makakasakay ko.
Paliwanag naman dyan ng MMDA, may restriction ng kanilang project dahil sa existing MRT line sa ibabaw nito. Kaya dalawa lang daw ang pinagpipilian nila. Either may rampa o wala.
Although hindi naman talaga masyadong matarik, medyo alanganin lang ang lagay kasi nga limitado lang yung espasyo na paglalagyan. So talagang pinilit lang namin na ilagyan yun. Mamimili lang kami, maglalagay ba kami o hindi.
Mahalaga sa bansang gaya ng Pilipinas ang mass transportation, lalo sa mga manggagawang commuter na malaking bahagi ng ating ekonomiya. Mobile Journal, Ivan Tarinque po, hatid ang mukha ng balita.
Well, according nga kay Evan, it's not as bad as yung nakikita sa picture. It's hard pa rin. It's still difficult for some of our kababayan.
Oo, kasi-
Pero we understand also yung limitation ng MMDA. It's either we put the ramp or not. So kahit pa paano, kung may kasama ka, at least may makakatulong. Hindi, I mean, kung yan ang choice
Alam
mo.
mo, yung mga, ang pasubukin mo dyan kaagad, yung mga mismong PWD, kasi may mga nakita rin ako na sumubok dyan na naka-wheelchair, hindi talaga kakayanin lang silang mag-isa. Baka daw dumaos-dos pa sila. May isang
Yes, I
PWD
understand.
na nagpa-interview dyan na hindi, kasi kung gagawin nila to, this is going to be, kung paninindigan nila to, this is going to be against the Magna Carta law para sa mga PWD dahil hindi yan talaga accessible for them. And even sinabi
But
naman nila,
they
di ba,
can-
yung accessibility law, yung PWD ramp na ito ay 10 degrees steeper than the standard.
Yes, pero it's also daw sa...
Sayang lang yung pera nyo kung
I
pinagawa
understand. No,
nyo
I'm
pa
with you
yan.
with that. I'm just saying, in-explain na rin to ng DPW, in Public Works and the way yung pagka-construct nito, although there is a 10 degrees per number of inches sa height dapat ang sinusundan ng isang ramp, but they are not bound to follow this as long as you give that access.
They are not bound
no,
to follow
in-explain na yan. Hindi ko ma-explain technically. Hindi daw kailangan talaga sundin. Mayroon daw...
Hindi kailangan sundin.
No,
I know, technically, pero this is not the right ramp for the PWD.
No, I'm just talking technical. I know that's your advocacy. I'm just talking in terms of technicality. It would be better sana kung, ito, may sumubok ko. Mahirap talaga. But I'm saying kasi ang dahilan ng binigay ng mga gumawa nito is may plus or minus silang degree of error na pwedeng gawin. Apparently, hindi nila kaya. So, ang choice natin is sana dinagdagan na natin ng elevator kung hindi kayo gagawa ng rampa.
Exactly. O, tingnan mo, nakikita po ng mga kababayan natin ngayon sa ating TV screen, yung isang PWD, di ba, naka-wheelchair siya, sinusubukan nga po itong ramp na ito. Parte po yan, supposedly, ng modernization program dyan sa EDSA Busway, pero apparently, hindi nga po, hirap na hirap po, no? Imbis na makatulong po para sa mga PWD, mga kapatid nating PWD, ay may hirapan po.
They're likening this to the stairs na walang pinupuntahan. Yung stairs na...
Stairway to Heaven.
Oh, Stairway to Heaven, yung sa... where is this? Sa may Cubao ba yun?
Yes.
Oo.
So, hindi talaga tama. Yung ako, for me,
Hindi naman talaga tama.
Yung
I'm just saying
pagkakagawa
kasi...
dyan. Kahit ano pang rason nila.
Ang problema sa Magna Carta, we should put some amendments to that Magna Carta. It's because hindi specified kung ano yung exact na pangangailangan nila. In general lang. So, some people will use the gray areas, which is wrong. But some of them will use the gray areas in developing accessibility. Even entrada sa mga buses, mahirap sa mga kababayan natin PWD. Hindi pa naayos.
Tapos anong sabi nila, tatalaga na lang sila ng tauhan ng MMDA para doon sa magtutulong.
That's not feasible naman.
Lagi na lang.
Oo.
Alright, so hindi po okay yan. Kaya nag-trending yan po ngayon kasi talagang hindi po nararapat para po sa mga kapatid nating may kapansanan, even the pregnant women,
dapat
mga senior
paupuin
citizen.
natin yung mga paupuin natin yung mga MMDA sa wheelchair, try nila akitin.
Diba? Yung mga gumagawa kasi niyan hindi nag-e-ed sa busway. Anyway, coming up, the Bicameral Conference Committee has approved the Maritime Zones Bill. What should we expect from the bill's final version?
And why are public health watchdogs and economists calling for the transfer of unused PhilHealth funds as illegal?
Thursday na?
May mga babati kasi
sige, bati ka muna.
Nawawala yung comment section
Batiin
sa
ko tong
FB.
nandito sa YouTube natin.
Go.
Ronald Maxtay, good morning. Si Oscar, Team Castro, good morning daw. Si, Mark Santiago. Sabi ni Mark Santiago, true, masabi lang may mailagay.
Yan.
Sana daw, sabi ni Ronald Maxtay, itry daw ni Arte sumakay dyan sa wheelchair niya kung kaya niya. Ayan.
Ito si Ralph
Sayang
Domingo.
taxpayers ang money parusa sa PWD. Gina Villa and Mark Santiago.
Ralph Domingo naman, very gloomy Thursday mga ka-branch. Watching now, habang nasa LRT daw si Ralph, si Elmer Abad, napakadaming emoticons ang linagay. Maraming salamat.
Si Eric Honrado. Tito Eric Honrado.
Eric, hello. Ito po,
good morning.
Isang Pokemon Go, kahit po normal na maglalakad dyan, gugulong daw pababa. Si Mina Bernales, good morning daw. Si Ramon Garcia, okay na yan kahit paano may nagawa daw sa PWD.
Ganun na lang, kahit paano.
Comment naman yan.
Oo nga, yun ang sinasabi ko lang sa kanya.
Masyado kang ano saan. Alam mo, we are all with them. Just comment lang naman nila.
Sige, comment lang pala yan. Comment lang, okay. Si Tito Naldi and Tita Daisy Cancho, yan nanonood sa atin. Si Vladimir, si VJ, si Hener, and of course, sino pa?
Mother Earth.
Sila Mother Earth, tsaka si Ate Ringo. At si Ramon, di ba? Nabasa mo na siya?
Ha?
Isang Pokemon Go.
Yes. Si Ramon ba yun?
Oo, Alex Fuentes, lahat. Okay, sige mamaya po ha. At patuloy lang po kayo mag-send ng inyong comments para malaman natin
Alright.
kung ano yung mga hula ninyo para sa ating number 1 for today. But let's continue with our countdown. Going straight now to our 7th spot, a suspect in the murder of an Australian and 2 Filipinos has surrendered to authorities. The suspect, identified only as Ronel, was a former employee of the hotel in Tagaytay, where the victims were found dead on July 10. In his confession, he says the crime was his way of avenging his dismissal from work by the hotel management. He is now facing murder charges over the death of David James Fisk, his Filipino wife Lucita, and her daughter Mary Jane Cortez.
Ayun lang ang dahilan yan dahil may
galit ka.
Galit sa management. Ang galit niya na ang nakaapekto hindi naman yung management ng hotel Ang naapektuhan yung buhay ng yung mga taong
Yes, yung tatlong pinatay niya. Actually, nung nahuli siya dun sa isang pinagtatrabahuan niya ulit na pinaglipatan niya ng hotel, suot pa niya daw yung relo nung kanyang biktima. Suot daw. May nakakita sa kanya
tama ka,
yung witness.
CCTV caught him wearing yung mga ninakaw niya. Pero, kung hindi pa siya, sumuko siya, nakita rin siya CCTV, tapos ang dahilan niya is very, I don't know, mahirap kakainit ng ulo Pero may galit siya sa hotel. If you have a grievance against your employer, take it to the right,
He went through daw sa likod ata, back door.
Yeah, sa back door.
Ng hotel. He was really familiar. He is familiar with the hotel sa inside and out kasi galing siya doon.
Familiar nga siya. Alam niya may CCTV, gumawa pa ng kalokohan. Sana na lang he took his grievances to the proper authorities.
Oo. Kung may mali man na nagawa sa kanya.
Alright, let's move on. Coming in at the 6th spot is Comelec. Its officials showed support to their chairman, George Garcia, amid accusations thrown against him. Garcia received a long-standing ovation before a press briefing yesterday. Officials said they will continue working despite their integrity being challenged. Garcia is facing allegations of entering an irregular deal with election provider Miru Systems. Sagip Party List Representative Rodante Marcoleta and former lawmaker Edgar Erice also accused Garcia of receiving money abroad through offshore accounts. Garcia denied this and also insisted that he will not resign from his position.
Impossible po na may mag-leave at saka mag-courtesy resignation o mag-resign sa isang miyembro ng komisyon. Ano sila, hilo? Parang sinasabi namin totoo ako sa nila. Total, bumababa sila sa level na ganyan. Yung sasabi mag-resign, mag-leave, nek-nek nila.
Alright, switching gears now for our next topic for today. For our top 5, House lawmakers are also now investigating the crimes linked to illegal POGO operations. Torture videos inside raided POGO hubs were shown during the hearing on Wednesday. PAOK spokesperson Winston Casio says some foreign nationals were sold to do illegal activities. With this, lawmakers are calling on local governments to be proactive against these criminal syndicates.
Documents will show that they are still operating in the different LGUs, Mr. Chair. No? So since they're still operating sa mga iba-ibang LGU, it is also the responsibility of the mayors to make sure that they are not operating anymore.
Mamaya pag-usapan natin yan, ha?
Yeah,
let's continue muna with our countdown.
Ranking 4th is the Maritime. On our 4th spot is about the Maritime Zones Bill. The bicameral committee has approved this bill that aims to legally to extend the extent of the Philippine waters. The bill's principal author, Senate Majority Leader Francis Tolentino, said the final version of the bill included Palawan and the Philippine Rise. The senator emphasized that the bill is a milestone. Not only that it clarifies the country's maritime boundaries, it also reaffirms our rights to our waters.
Maliwanag yun na may batas tayo na kung saan tayo pwedeng maglayag, pwedeng mangisda. Kagaya nung pinuntahan ko kahapon, nandun ako dun sa nawawalang mangingisda sa Zambales. Hanggang hindi pa nakikita, 14 days na.
Now to tell us more about this, we have Senator Francis Tolentino on the line. Good morning, Senator. Thanks for joining us again.
Good morning. Good morning po. Good morning po.
Yes, Senator, let's get right to it po. Now, are we expecting the President to sign this bill before his SONA po, or at least mention it?
Hindi po kayang ma-sign before SONA kasi po may procedure tayo. It has to be reported out sa floor ng House at ng Senate. So, yung opening po natin ng SONA ay 22. So, imposible pong ma-report out yun kasi procedural lang po yung sa 22. Iimbitahan yung Pangulo to attend the SONA. So, ceremonial, more or less sa 23. That's the day after the SONA. So, i-report out yun. Pagkatapos po, itatransmit pa ho yun sa Malacanang.
Right. But more or less, Senator, it's parang the congratulations are in order dahil for sure, hindi naman po ito, for sure ito po ay sa-signin ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos.
Sana po because this was already mentioned doon sa kanyang Singapore trip at ini-expect po ng lahat yan.
Yeah. Aside po, help us understand po, Senator, no? Aside from clarifying our maritime boundaries, ano pa po yung laman nitong maritime zones na ito at paano po ba ito makakatulong sa ating mga kapatid na mangingisda?
Ay, mahaba-haba. If you can give me 3 hours, I will explain this. Pero ilang buwan po namin tinrabaho to. First time po ito. First time din pong mababanggit ang salitang West Philippine Sea sa isang batas. First time po yon. So pag dinadala po yan sa United Nations, mare-recognize na po nila kasi ang binabanggit lagi, South China Sea.
Right.
First time din pong babanggitin natin yung Philippine Rise na talampas ng Pilipinas.
Yes.
First time din po na babanggitin natin sa isang batas yung arbitral ruling. Lagi tayo nagsasalita tungkol sa arbitral ruling 2016, hindi pa naman natin sinasabatas yun. So nilagay na natin sa isang provision yung 2016 arbitral ruling. And several other features na mahaba-haba. First time din na isinama na rin natin yung submission natin on June 14, 2024 sa United Nations tungkol po sa continental shelf.
Kasi I remember po before, yung tinatrabaho nyo pa lang po itong bill na to, ang suggestion nyo po, instead na West Philippine Sea, ay dagdagan po ng Great West Philippine Sea. Hindi na po yun natuloy, ano, Senator?
Hindi na po. Hindi na po yan.
So ano na lang siya, so parang historical nga, it's going to be...
But we can still use that if other administrative agencies can do that. Pwede rin po. Yun namang great, walang pagkakaiba po yun sa Metro Manila, naging Mega Manila, etc., etc.
But what happens po, no, if China still refuse to acknowledge this law?
They will not acknowledge, definitely. So what will happen is that we have a law recognized by the international community, recognized by our own citizens. Mas maganda naman po siguro kaysa wala tayong pinangahawakan titulo.
Right. Taking this opportunity na rin po, Senator, no, para po tanungin yung inyong reaksyon dito po sa new hotline na na-launch po between the presidential offices of the Philippines and China. Sa tingin niyo po ba this can help in lowering the tension in the West Philippine Sea?
Siguro po, makakatulong. Naging part po yan ng 10th bilateral consultative meeting. Ano naman po yan Next year, meron namang 11th BCM. Tapos susunod na taon, may 12th BCM. So tuloy-tuloy lang po yan. So makakatulong po siguro, lalong-lalo na kung merong emergency, kailangan lang sumagot sila.
Right.
Kailangan sumagot sila bakit nakaparada sa lubang nung isang araw yung kanilang barko. Kailangan sumagot sila bakit nandun yung monster ship pa nila sa Sabina hanggang ngayon. Kailangan tumugon po sila.
Alright, sige po. For the meantime, maraming salamat po muna sa inyong oras.
Maraming salamat po.
Opo.
At ingat po kayo at magandang tanghali po sa inyo lahat.
Alright, so that was Senator Francis Tolentino. Alam natin na busy-busy, di ba, si Senator? Okay, so...
Okay, pero malaking bagay yun kasi wait lang, mabilis
Yes,
na kasi ma-mention ni Senator Francis Tolentino about officially calling it the West Philippine Sea.
Yes.
There's some issues kasi between some media entities. Paiba-ibaing the way it is mentioned. Some
South China
may mga
Sea
times
pa
South
rin.
China Sea, some reported as West Philippine Sea. Hindi consistent. Ngayon, at least, since there is a law enacted into it already, we will call it definitely the West Philippine Sea. Ang magandang tignan dito yung repercussions sa mangyayari if na-detain na mga Chinese sa mga fishermen natin, since it's officially ngayon through a law called the West Philippine Sea, and they detain our fishermen within our West Philippine Sea na matatawag na talaga natin, ano ang magiging response ng Philippine government ngayon?
Exactly. So, yan ang ating aabangan. Pero for the meantime, sabi nga natin, kasi hindi pa ito masasaynan, sinabi naman ni Senator
Definitely hindi aabot sa SONA, but hindi nabanggit kung imi-mention. But I'm sure imi-mention ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos ito.
Okay, sige. Tas kanina din, balikan natin yung usapin ng Pogo. Diba sa House hearing? Kasi magkaroon na rin sila ng sarili nilang hearing doon. At may mga pinakitang mga torture videos. Actually, yung dalawang congressman, si Representative, I forgot her name, sinabi niya sana itigil na muna yung pagpapalabas ng mga torture videos. Pero sinabi ni Congressman Richard Gomez na mahalaga na maipakita yung konteksto. Diba? So, gabayan na lang siguro yung
It's very disturbing daw. So, medyo apprehensive ang iba about showing it. Pero ang pakay ng House kasi is to see how they can manage properly yung mga legal pogos while doing away with illegal. Kasi doon, ito naman tayo, nagkakaiba ulit tayo between yung pakay ng Senado at pakay ng Congress. Kasi yung lower house, most of them, guidance ng Speaker is geared towards maintaining the legal pogos while doing away with illegal pogos. Yung Senate kasi parang total ban na ang ina-advocate nila eh. So,
and other groups, even businesses.
Actually, majority of lawmakers and a lot of our mga kababayan natin are already pushing for the total ban of pogos. So, let's see how President Bongbong Marcos
sa SONA
reacts to this.
Kasi parang for the longest time, hindi siya nagsasalita. Although recently nagsalita siya, titignan daw.
Titignan.
Diba? Sige, mahaba-habang usapin po itong pogo na to, but let's continue muna with our countdown. Coming in at top 3, Vice President Sara Duterte clarifies that her designated survivor remark was not a threat. Here's the report.
Outgoing Education Chief Sara Duterte attended her last Brigada Escuela in Cebu on Wednesday. Duterte, who concurrently serves as the Vice President, resigned from DepEd. Days after her resignation, Duterte said she will skip President Marcos's SONA this year. The VP noted that she is appointing herself as a designated survivor. The designated survivor is a cabinet official who steps in when a president dies or is deemed capable of leading. That statement of VP Sara drew mixed reactions from the public. Duterte says she was not joking, and at the same time, it was not a threat to the president's safety.
Dili to siya joke. Dili po to siya bang threat. I think many missed the point. So, para sa ako, wala ka kasabot the first time, I don't think you deserve an explanation.
The VP also did not elaborate on why she won't attend Marcos's SONA.
Karon lang ko nakakita og ganing Vice President na ginapagita ang iyahang attendance sa tanan mga butang.
Today, she is set to meet with Senator Sonny Angara, who has been appointed by Marcos as Duterte's replacement. They are expected to tackle appointments after several DepEd officials also resigned. The VP says she is confident that Angara will be able to do the job.
That's her prerogative naman to not attend. Anyway, opposition naman siya. Pero I'm still confused sa statement na it's not a threat, but it's not a joke.
Because kung hindi mo daw maintindihan, you don't deserve an explanation.
I know, pero parang kasi the assumption is ma-wipe out lahat in succession, di ba? Or the president will be, will happen. So ako na ang I'm not attending because ako yung designated survivor. So the assumption is parang may mangyayari sa venue place.
You're reading too much into it.
No, I'm just saying.
Joke lang.
Parang It's confusing lang, pero she's really naman the next in line.
So, pero mamaya, ngayon ay July 18, no? So mamaya yung kanilang meeting ni incoming DepEd Secretary Sani Angara. Kasi tomorrow na yung effectivity ng kanyang resignation.
19.
Yung mga nag-resign na mga DepEd officials, those are actually courtesy resignations.
Standard naman yan.
Standard yan para magbigay daan doon sa bagong secretary na mag-appoint ng kanyang mga sariling officials. Pero kung i-appoint niya ulit itong mga to, hindi rin naman yung bawal.
A lot kasi on the other side of the political fence are saying, nawala si VP Sara, kita mo, nawala rin. No.
Even in Comelec, remember before, nung nagbago ng chairman, may mga...
Every time the head of the committee or the department resigns, it is but out of courtesy na yung mga na-appoint during that time also na ng secretary, magre-resign din para to give the secretary, the incoming secretary, a hand at choosing a team na pwede naman niya i-retain kung gusto niya.
Siguro by now, alam na ng mga ka-bronchies natin, kung ano yung top 2 natin, top 1 and 2. Pero malalaman po natin
yan. Nandiyan ba si Mayora?
Nandiyan ba? Tingnan natin. Si Migs Ebron nanonood sa atin, si Anis Inhente,
good morning.
Si Sam Pokemon Go, tsaka si Cecil Samaniego. Isa yan sa mga
loyal viewers
sa atin. Okay, let's continue with our countdown.
Yan, top 2 na tayo ha. President Marcos's performance and trust ratings drop in a new survey from Pulse Asia. Marcos Jr. scored a 53% approval rating for his performance as of June, a 2-point slide from his 55% rating in March. His trust ratings also fell by 5%, going from 57% in March down to 52% in June. Pulse Asia Research Director Ana Tabunda notes that Marcos's numbers are low in Mindanao, a known bailiwick of the Dutertes.
A factor that can be considered there is the fact that President Duterte has been speaking against President Marcos. And you can see the effect of that, especially in the slide in the numbers in Mindanao.
Despite that, political analyst Froilan Kalilung believes that Marcos can redeem himself in his upcoming SONA.
The SONA is an opportune time for the president to actually bounce back. No, I really don't look at this particular survey as a big setback.
Kasi 'di ba sabi nga nila ng mga analysts kasama na nga yung sa Pulse Asia na typically in any administration pag pangatlong SONA talaga yung approaching sa pangatlong SONA medyo bumababa talaga yung trust rating
numbers
because ito na yung singilan ng mga pangako sa campaign, yung mga campaign promises.
Kay Pangulong former the late President Aquino, so his numbers start to go down after the 3rd to 4th year. Pangulong Duterte, although maintained a high numbers until the end of his term, started to go down a little. May slight
pero mataas pa rin.
Mataas kasi mataas ang pinagsimulan ni Pangulong Duterte.
Oo. So yun sinasabi na kasi singilan na to nga ng mga campaign promises, 'di ba na tignan natin kung natutupad.
Baka hanapin ng mga Pilipino
ngayon yung 20 peso
per kilo rice.
'Di ba? And a lot more tapos yung usapin sa education,
that's right.
Bilihin, transportation, yan. So, abangan natin yan sa magiging SONA ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos. Sa Monday na, di ba? July 22. Pero dun sa isa pang survey na ginawa, I think that's part of this survey as well. Yung kay Vice President Sara Duterte. Nag-maintain siya ng kanyang percentage. No? Hindi ko lang alam kung ano yung coverage nung date nung survey na ito.
At anong issues yung mga
ano yung tanong, ano yung mga
time.
questions. And usually naman, the respondents would always be like 1,200, 1,500 to 2,000 respondents yan. And yun nga lang, hindi natin alam dito kung anong date nung coverage ng survey.
Pero
kasi kung kasama ba yung, di ba yung kay Vice President Sara Duterte, kung kasama na ba dyan yung time na nag-resign na siya.
Yeah.
Yung may mga away-away na sila sa Unity.
Gusto makita natin yung reflection kasi ng pagkalas sa Unity, ano yung effect nito on both sides. Oo.
Alright, let's continue with our countdown. Eto na po. Our top story for today is PhilHealth. Health advocates are heading to the Supreme Court to question the legality of returning PhilHealth's 89.9 billion pesos of unused funds to the National Treasury. Here's a report.
89.9 billion pesos. That's the unused funds of PhilHealth for the past few years. The Finance Department released a department circular ordering PhilHealth to return these funds to the Bureau of the Treasury. DOF said this large amount of money can be used for unprogrammed appropriations. Health reform advocate Tony Liachon questioned this move and insisted it is a violation of the Universal Healthcare Law. He said the unused funds can be utilized in expanding the benefits offered by the state health insurer or lowering the premium contribution of its members.
Ang daming magagawa. I think it's unconstitutional, it's immoral, it's illegal.
Senator J.V. Ejercito also questioned the fund transfer. The author of the Universal Healthcare Law said the funds for health programs should be used for health-related projects. In an interview with Radyo 5, PhilHealth spokesperson Ray Balenya said the return of the funds won't affect the agency's operations and offered benefits.
May matitira po sa atin na sapat para po una sa ating operations, ikalawa para pondohan lahat po ng ating nasa benefit plans na nagsimula po ng 2023. So ibig sabihin ay sapat po, no? We are still in a strong financial position to operate at ipatupad lahat ng ipinangako nating benefit enhancement sa mga tao.
Balenya also said the unused budget did not come from the members' contributions. The Finance Department explained that using excess funds for other projects is better than borrowing money or increasing taxes. Former Finance Undersecretary Shelo Magdo, however, opposed her former agency. In an interview with Storycon, Magdo said DOF's circular is illegal.
From our perspective, it's illegal because what essentially they're doing with this provision is to amend all the charters, all these laws that created the GOCCs. Kasi malinaw sa charter ng PhilHealth at dun sa ating Universal Healthcare Law, malinaw doon na sinasabi na kung pondo ang PhilHealth, kung may reserve fund siya, dalawa lang ang maaaring paggamitan nito. Either palakihin yung scope ng serbisyo ng mga mamayan, yung mga benepisyo na nakukuha natin, o ibaba yung premium ng taong bayan.
Liachon and the Philippine Medical Association are planning to question the legality of the move before the Supreme Court.
Pera to para sa kalusugan ng bawat mamamayan. So hindi dapat natin itong i-give away lang basta-basta. This is bigger and worse than the Pharmally. Kasi 90 billion ito eh. So diba, at saka ito, savings ito, pera ng bayan, hindi ba mas nakakasakit ng damdamin?
For News 5, JC Cosico, we are One News.
Now to tell us more about this, we have health reform advocate Dr. Tony Liachon.
Good morning, Doc. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Angelo, Jello, and Angela.
That's right, Doc.
Sorry.
Sige, Doc, let's get right to it po. Kailan po ang targeted date for the filing ng petition sa Supreme Court?
Well, we had a meeting 2 nights ago, and perhaps after the SONA, we'll have a press con tomorrow with the medical organization led by the Philippine Medical Association and the Philippine College of Physicians. And immediately after the SONA, there will be a civil society meeting, and perhaps that will be the time that we will file the case. We're trying to gather all the data so that we can have a very nice, comprehensive I would say, legal document that will be presented to the Supreme Court. I think it's important that we protect the PhilHealth funds because this is vital for the implementation of the Universal Healthcare Law.
Right. Doc, sino-sino po kayong mga magfa-file ng petition sa Supreme Court regarding this case?
Well, the primary is the Philippine Medical Association representing all the doctors in the Philippines, plus other civil society groups, mainly from the civil society organizations
Yung mga nag-umpisa ng sin tax in 2012, other reformists, mga professors, economists, no? It's a broad alliance kasi they feel really the need that we need to object to this kind of measure of diverting the PhilHealth unused funds to unprogrammed appropriations of the government.
Doc, sabihin ko lang po itong sinabi, of course, ng PhilHealth regarding this issue, and they're standing by it na hindi naman daw po maapektuhan yung financial stability at within the legal bounds naman din po yung mga gagawin nilang mga transfer of funds pabalik po sa National Treasury. Your thoughts on that?
Well, ang issue ay inefficient ang kanilang serbisyo kasi yung excess funds at saka savings talaga natin, dapat talagang isasagad natin kasi kulang yung benepisyong natatanggap natin sa PhilHealth. Pangalawa, napakataas ng premium na binabayaran natin. So, ibig sabihin, yung savings na yan, illegal yan kasi it violates the Universal Healthcare Act na kung may savings ka, dapat ilaan mo sa pag-expand ng benefits at to reduce ang ating premiums. At hindi mo pwede siyang isole kasi lagak lang siya yung funds na earmark ng PhilHealth para lang sa kalusugan ng bayan at hindi sa ibang proyekto na let's say DPWH and other programs or pet projects of lawmakers.
Actually, Doc, ang sinasabi nga din nila hindi naman daw po kasi from the contribution ng mga members itong budget, yung excess na pera na ito na itatransfer back to the National Treasury. Sabi daw po nila, ito ay from the subsidies ng gobyerno, which is, kayo na lang po mag-explain yan, Doc.
With due respect to them, it doesn't matter whether kung saan man nanggagaling yung pondo. Through the years, humanap kami ng mga pondo para tumaas ang PhilHealth natin, para yung out-of-pocket expenses natin ay mabawasan. Kasi ang gastos ng bawat Pilipino pag na-hospital ay 60%. Eh gusto natin, pag dating ng araw, ay 10% lang ang gagastusin natin. Ngayon, nagkaroon ka ng 90 billion na savings. Ba't mo naman ipamimigay? Hindi natin na-expand. Kunyari na heart attack ka, di yung angiogram, pwede na nating mailibre. Na stroke ka, ang makukuha mo lang na case rate, let's say 30,000, maging 100,000. Pati chemotherapy drug. Right. So ang dami natin, pwede tayo magkaroon ng outpatient PhilHealth HMO card. Para sa ganon, hindi naman tayo maghihirap sa mamahal na mga laboratory diagnostic procedures. These are things na pwede na lang isipan. Ba't nila bigla na lang ibibigay sa atin yun? Binayaran natin the taxpayers' money.
Yes. Pero Doc, ang sabi rin kasi po ng PhilHealth that they've already daw improved yung mga scope at saka yung amounts ng mga benefit packages. Sa tingin nyo pa, yung based on what you said, ano pa ang mga areas or mga sakit na kailangan natin dagdagan ng pondo or mas pagandahin pa natin yung coverage?
Alam mo, dapat bigyan natin ng coverage yung coronary artery disease. Ang dami namamatay sa heart attack. Pag na-admit sa emergency room, umaatras kasi ang mahal ng angiogram 50,000. Magkano ang stent? Kukonti lang. Yan ang number 1 killer disease in the country. Number 2, ang dami may cancer ngayon. Ang mahal-mahal ng mga MRI scan. Ang mahal-mahal po ng mga gamot sa cancer. Ba't naman natin ibibigay lang yun? Ang dami na i-stroke. Isang araw ka lang sa private hospital, sa ICU, na ventilator, 100,000 per day. Ang dami natin matutulungan pagka ganun. And then, use also preventive health programs na outpatient.
Yes.
Using yung mga cards na pwede natin gamitin and make PhilHealth just like any private HMO card so that the poorest of the poor hindi mangingimi pumunta ng hospital because they have the PhilHealth outpatient HMO card. Ang dami natin magagawa sa mga 90 billion na yan.
Actually, Doc, until now, we are seeing a lot of our kababayans na talagang pumipila day in, day out sa mga government offices para humingi ng tulong pinansyal para sa kanilang pagpapagamot o pagpapagamot ng kanilang mga kamag-anak, no? So, I guess talagang kulang na kulang pa yung naibibigay sa kanila. And I was wondering, Doc, din po, ano pa po ba yung mga, paano nyo po ba nalaman, na meron pong ganitong ginagawang pag-transfer, na meron po palang excess fund ng PhilHealth na itatransfer po na directed by the Department of Finance?
Sa Appropriations Committee meeting, si Congressman Estela Quimbo, napansin niya 2021, may sobra ng 20 billion and then 2022-23, total niya 89.9. Na nagulat ang lahat kasi ang laki ng taas ng premium and yet meron palang excess funds at bakit nag-i-increase pa ng 4 to 5%. So doon nagkaalaman na. So yung mga matitinik na economists, tiningnan na talaga. Yun pala, silently, ang Department of Health nag-issue pa na ng Circular 003, Pebrero pa, ano na ngayon, July. So silently, nagawa sila ng resolution na yan, hindi pa na alam sa taong bayan. At saka dapat yan, may oversight committee kung saan pumupunta yung pera. Ba't na lang, nag-resolution ng PhilHealth at bigla na lang nilipat yun sa Department of Finance. Walang pinag-iba yan sa Parmali na nilipat ng Department of Health sa DBM. During the time, di ba? 42 billion. Ito, mas malagim ito. 90 billion to. Ililipat mo sa Department of Finance, sa Treasury, para ondohan ang hindi pa naiisip na programa. Samantalang ang dami natin naiisip na programa para sa kalusugan.
Doc, lastly, mabilis lang po. Meron po ba kayong datos ng mga ospital na until now po at saka mga doktor na hindi pa rin po nababayaran ng PhilHealth?
Sa Philippine Hospital Association ng Pilipinas, marami po dati ako PhilHealth Director from 2016 to 2019. Ang dami pong arrears po ng PhilHealth. So, milyon-milyon ang hindi nababayaran nila at nakakaawa naman po sila at ang iba nalulugi na po. Yan ang dapat natin tuunan ng pansin ngayon na dapat tututulan to bawat Filipino citizen nakatutok dito. Kasi nagbabayad po tayo dyan, kinakalta sa sweldo nyo. Yun pala, pinamimigay lang ang pera natin.
Alright, on that note, siguro balikan ka po namin ulit, Doc Tony, pagkatapos nyo po or kung pang magpa-file na po kayo ng inyong
to get updates.
Opo. For the meantime, maraming salamat po sa inyong oras. That was Dr. Tony Liacho ng Health Advocate din.
Another issue, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Another issue kinakaharap ni Pangulong Bongbong Marcos sa SONA.
Kahit na sinasabi nga ng PhilHealth na hindi naman daw manggagaling yun sa contribution ng mga members, pero galing pa rin yun dun sa tax natin. Dahil di ba yung sa pagpondo ng Universal Healthcare Act natin, nanggagaling yun dun sa mga syntax
Tsaka walang surplus ang PhilHealth. That was not a surplus kasi ang surplus, ang assumption is sagad ka na sa expenses mo at wala ka ng room for any advancement or improvement.
Tsaka pinapoint out niya na inefficiency, totoo, diba?
Package improvement pa lang, ang daming kailangan na
utang sa mga hospital and doctor.
Anyway, ang daming pang pag-usapan. Thank you for joining us today, but I'd like to leave you with a quote. Before anything else, preparation is the key to success. A quote from Alexander Graham Bell.
That's why si PBBM ay nagpe-prepare na ng kanyang SONA speech.
And that wraps up today's episode of Brunch.
Join us again tomorrow. I'm Angela Lagunsad Castro and he is Angelo Castro III. We are One News.
All sides, all the time.
See you tomorrow.